Oh, it's time for class.
Class is in session!
Roll call! Bueller.
I'm gonna be late for class.
Bueller.
Am I hallucinating here? Just what in the hell do you think you're doing?
I'm late for class.
You are mine now. You belong to me.
Did you study for the test?
No more complaining. No more Mr. Kimble to go to the bathroom. Nothing. There is no bathroom.
Hello, classmates, and welcome to another episode of Middle Class Film Class Movie Review Edition. I'm your host for today, Joseph.
I'm Peter.
And I'm Tyler.
And this week, the Wheel of Destiny landed on my pick, Oppenheimer.
Yep.
All right. Time for Oppie.
Just to spite Tyler. Possibly.
It kind of looks like it.
Oppenheimer, directed by Christopher Nolan, written by Christopher Nolan and Kai Bird, Martin Sherwin, starring Cillian Murphy, Emily Blunt, Matt Damon, Alden Ehrenreich, Jason Clarke, Macon Blair, Kenneth Branagh.
Keep it going. Keep it going.
Josh Peck, that guy from
Josh Pig. Oh my God.
that guy from Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Robert Downey Jr., a bunch of other people.
Michael Angarano.
Casey Affleck at one point.
Yeah, Matt
Casey
Damon.
Affleck, yeah. Matt Damon.
Matt Damon and James Darcy.
James Darcy.
Yeah. Darcy. Darcy. Yeah, and this is a movie about, it's a biopic, a retelling of the story of Oppenheimer and his involvement in the Trinity test and the development of the atomic bomb that would lead to the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And
The famous movie producer.
Yes, Nagasaki.
Hiroshima, Nagasaki.
Yeah.
It's actually, oh
yeah.
my God.
From Windy City Heat.
Yeah, and it's also based on,
The director of Humor.
it's all based on a book. I can't remember what it's called, but it's based, this version of the story is based on the book. And it's come out last year, 2023. And this is mine and Pete's second time watching this, I believe, right? Tyler's first time watching it.
Yep.
And like I said, this is the only reason I put it on the wheel was to get him to watch it.
Yes.
For some reason, he just was trying to die on a hill in which he didn't watch the movie in his lifetime.
The book is called American Prometheus.
American Prometheus, yes. Yeah. And so here we are. It landed on it finally. It's exactly 3 hours long.
Yeah. I saw one that said 3 hours and 1 minute, which I thought was annoying because I remember it being exactly 3 hours and thinking, now this is the only 3 hour movie that I know of.
No.
And I can say 3 hours long.
Yeah, it's 3 hours long, not at least 3 hours long.
It's won 7 Oscars, but in total, in terms of all the awards ceremonies around, it has 357 nominations and it has won 346 times.
That's 357, 346.
Yes.
What is that? 46.
It's 11
11 nominations
wins
that they didn't win.
Yeah.
Damn, the odds are good.
The hit ratio.
What a ratio on that.
Is high.
Yeah.
The KD ratio is on.
It's like Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
Topical LA talk.
But yeah, here we are landing on it.
Cool.
And we're all going to talk about it. And Pete, initial thoughts watching it a second time. Let me get this going here.
I'd like to defer to Tyler first because I want to hear Tyler's.
Since we've both seen it already.
Because we already seen it. And I want to hear Tyler's unbridled.
Oh, actually, you know what I wanted to do before we did that?
Okay, yeah.
Because I wanted to predict what he thought about the movie.
Okay, are you going to write it down?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I was actually going to write it down, but I don't want to sway your thinking.
That's what I'm saying. I don't want.
You're not.
I'm going to write it down in my phone. I was going to do a magician thing where you write a piece of paper and then fold it. I have here a prediction.
I have this in a wet nap container that's never been opened. In the center of an orange is Tyler's rating for this movie. It's written on the back of the Ace of Spades.
So I'm going to just I'm going to predict a grade. I wrote that down. And just some small notes of what he might say.
Okay, great. So we'll put Tyler on.
Okay.
All
right. Tyler, your first time watching this out of spite. And I hoped you went in with a subjective or objective mind.
Yeah. I did.
Okay.
I
hopefully.
did. No, I did.
Okay.
I did. I genuinely did. Well, so I think this is a very beautiful movie. And it said it was shot for IMAX, correct?
They used IMAX cameras.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can tell because the movie, even on my computer screen, felt very wide and open. And I thought that was really well done. I think Cillian Murphy's acting is superb in this movie. I think everyone did. I didn't really like Matt Damon. I did Casey Affleck. He channeled his who's the actor in Inglourious Basterds? Christopher Waltz?
Christoph Waltz.
Oh, Christoph Waltz. I think he was channeling that sort of acting into his character as well. However, I thought it was boring. I thought it was boring. What I did like about the story was like the emotional aspect of realizing you just created like a new era in warfare and having to grapple with that. I think I really liked that philosophical aspect, but Christopher Nolan didn't lean on that too much. I thought it should have leaned more into that rather than the process of making the bomb. I think Oppenheimer is like, he always keeps saying he's like an awful person and everything, but he doesn't try to not be an awful person.
Sounds familiar.
Okay. But all in all, I think you know what I was really thinking about after I was watching this movie and meditating on it is I was thinking of the series Chernobyl, in which you have this very complicated story, and for Chernobyl it was like cut up, and it was really compelling because it was cut up. I think Oppenheimer could have been like a miniseries rather than a 3-hour movie, because then you could have explored like the complexity of his character and like in the way where it comes up to making the bomb. It just felt very dense, and I felt bored like a lot of the time. There was some like towards the end, like I like really sat up in my seat and I was like, oh, okay, things
Gotta sit up for this one.
Yeah.
After the bomb was dropped in the courtroom scenes, that's when he's sitting up.
I think you know what, the bomb dropping was so anticlimactic. You know what I really like though in the end is like how Christopher Nolan was showing. He was like, it was like when Florence Pugh was like riding him in the interrogation room.
I knew that was my favorite scene.
You know me. Well, yeah, I did get a little. There was some swelling, but
I'm about to have the hardest boner right now.
But I liked how there was a bunch of like imaginary scenes, like of the people he was interacting with, like their face like ripping off in like the bright lights.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there was some flashes of brilliance, but all in all, I think it was just too long. It was a little bit boring, and it didn't wrestle with his struggle of accepting that he created a mass destruction weapon. So, yeah, I mean, yeah.
But you thought it looked good.
It definitely
You
looked
thought
good.
it looked good.
Oh, yeah,
and it performed well.
It looked good, and yeah, the performances are done well, but the overall story I felt was lacking, and it was just too long. It was just way too long for what it is.
Okay. I'm asking, what's your grade then? I'm just going to ask right from.
Oh, my grade? I'd give it a B.
Okay.
B.
Okay. Well,
B for Boppenheimer.
you want me, okay, I will reveal what I've written down
Yes.
here.
Oh, I forgot
right.
about the magic trick.
Yeah, all right.
Draw your attention, please,
I was
to the
close.
front of the room.
I was close. I wrote he gave it a B minus, and he thought it was technically good and kind of boring.
Damn it.
Damn, very good. Very
I
good.
hate how you know me so well.
I'm surprised
Like,
that
I don't know anything about film.
I know, like, I shouldn't get into this now because there's a whole article about how John Carpenter says Oppenheimer and it's okay and all right.
We're cut from the same cloth.
Yeah, I feel like the John Carpenter, of all the people in the world, good.
No, well, go ahead. finish your
John
thought.
Carpenter I feel like that he's your spirit animal.
Maybe so.
Not Danzig.
No,
No,
not
not
Danzig.
Danzig.
It's like you have the look of Tom York, but more the whole overall vibe of John Carpenter. Yeah. Except for John Carpenter doesn't give as much of a fuck. And I feel like Tyler's crushed by the weight of expectations about his entire life.
You know, it's funny. I found,
as we all are in
I
this
found
generation.
this article, from IndieWire, where it says John Carpenter says Oppenheimer is okay. This article came out like the beginning of May. And when I saw it, I screenshotted it and sent it to Pete. And I'm like, this is what Tyler's going to think.
Yeah. He did.
Yeah.
Spot on. Guess I'm that predictable, huh?
No, we just know you really well.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that either, because I know a lot of people, like Matt Stillman says he hates the script. He's like, this is a bad script, and just in general. I have my own thoughts about that. I'll save it for a little bit later. But
What I was thinking though when I was watching this movie was this would be a good IMAX movie to watch.
oh, it was.
Yeah.
Like
It was.
I was like just even on my computer screen, I was thinking to myself, man,
I wish this was IMAX.
Damn, if only this was in theaters.
Timax.
IMAX. But yeah, a solid B, technically good. All right. Cillian Murphy killed it. And I hope to see him in a
better movie.
in a main role
Again. Yeah. Okay. Pete, then, let's go to your initial thoughts.
So again, my second watch, and in the theater, I was get ready for this, David. I was blown away by the visuals. No, it was a technically gorgeous and like a spectacle film. You know, people talk about Lawrence of Arabia or Spartacus as like these spectacle films, like they're so large scale and so sweeping epics or whatever. Gone with the Wind, had that one shot where she's looking back at all of the injured soldiers, seemingly miles of injured soldiers, and it's like it's shocking the scope. In this one, there's not a lot of individual scenes that are like that, but excuse me. Being able to kind of explain how Oppenheimer, the man, got to where he was, and being able to, because 3 hours is a long run time, but on a biopic about somebody that's that interesting, that really chooses to take almost an entire act for the one small portion of his life, which is constructing the bomb. It's take that act out of it, and you still have 2 hours of movie to put the man that we know as a name, but know almost nothing about, and show him to the world. Somebody like Ray Charles or Johnny Cash, those biopics, like I didn't know all the specifics about them, but you can kind of infer. Grew up in the South, kind of a tough upbringing, raised around soul music, interesting checkered past with drugs and alcohol and things like that, and womanizing. It's like, okay, par for the course. It's an interesting biopic about an artist that we all know, and we know nothing about the person. That the Oppenheimers, I don't even know the fucking guy's name before this. It was just J. Oppenheimer. That's how I knew him as. And even in the movie, you don't even find out what J stands for. He says nothing. Do you know?
No, I mean, I don't know his actual the first name, but
Johann.
it's actually Cosmo.
Okay. No, it's like Homer Simpson. It's Homer Jay Simpson.
Oh, yeah.
So Nolan is taking this amazing undertaking, this feat of taking a personality who's responsible for arguably one of the most impactful inventions of our entire lifetime.
Yeah.
That could have potentially been the most significant. What if Germany or Japan won the war and bulldozed over America? Now, there's arguable, they talk about how we dropped the bomb on a country that was already basically ready to surrender. But at the moment, before all that happened and before Germany, surrendered, it could have potentially been this like world-ending thing.
Yeah.
For our side of the world, right?
Yeah.
And the landscape of just the idea that we all know what a nuclear arms race is and a zero end game, we all know what that concept is, and nuclear fallout and all that is because of this.
Right.
And so it's just this amazing person that we know nothing about. And I feel like after watching this movie, I know a lot about Oppenheimer. I know who the man is. And I can see the world through his eyes, and I can see what made him tick, and I can see the flaws and the good and the bad. And I'm putting myself in the scenario of like, I see how it would be considered evil to build the bomb.
Yeah.
And I can see how it would be considered like the right thing to do for national security. Because if they have their finger on the button and we have our finger on the button, but our button's not hooked up yet. Neither is theirs. It's like a race to hook up the button, you know?
Yeah. I mean, he said that when his one short friend said, I can't participate in this. And he's, well, it's either them or us.
Yeah, David Krumholtz's character.
Yeah.
Bernard from the Elf, from the Santa Claus, I mean.
Yeah.
Anyways, that undertaking of Christopher Nolan being able to tell that story is really a feat and making it interesting to me. And I know you were bored with it. When I was held captive in the theater and watching it, I didn't feel bored. I kind of thought I was going to feel bored at home watching a 3-hour biopic that A, I'd already seen before. B, is 3 hours long about not like it's particularly like an action, exciting character. It's like a brain, you know? But man, the second time it's so much better in my opinion. And I still liked it the first time, mainly because of the spectacle and the feeling and the fantastic score that just never stops. All those reasons, the great acting and all this stuff. But there was a lot of things in the first time around that I'm thinking, why do they have to have the naked scene, you know, with Pew? And why do they have to have him sitting nude on the chair? Why do they have to? How convenient that she pulls the book out and says, "Here, read it in Sanskrit. I am become death, destroyer of worlds."
Yeah,
you're like,
I didn't like that.
I still didn't like that on the second watch, but in at home, watching it at home, I was still captivated by the whole thing. And knowing how all the characters play into it and knowing all the different moving pieces and stuff, it made it that much more enjoyable to watch on a second time. Fantastic filmmaking, in my opinion. Really, really good. And all of the highfalutin sort of high concept sort of stuff where he's talking about seeing into other dimensions and you see these shifting shapes and speckles and dots and spinning atoms and stuff in the air. And you're like, I'm pretty much sure Joseph told me that that's all done practically. It's all done in camera.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And old school ways like milk screens and stuff like that, or whatever, you know, backlighting on, you know, sand and water and things like that. And it's like, that could seem really out of place and hokey and cheesy and this and that. Or it can be almost like too artsy, like Terrence Malick doing the Tree of Life thing with the planets and stuff. I could see how people interpret that as too artistic and what's the word I'm looking for? Pretentious. Yeah. Seemingly important, but not important. With this, it's almost like you just see a glimpse into Oppenheimer's brain.
Right.
And you're like, my brain doesn't work like that, but his brain does. Why? Who knows why?
Right.
The other thing that really struck me the first time, but the second time still, the fucking cast that Nolan gets from this.
Yeah.
Kenneth Branagh for 2 scenes, fucking, you know, Benny Safdie in a really memorable role.
Benny Safdie.
You know, Josh Hartnett, Josh Peck, Michael Angarano from Gentlemen Broncos.
Yep.
You know, it's like literally just keeps coming. Every person is.
Well, it's an opportunity to work with like arguably one of the greatest directors in the industry right now.
Sure, but
you can put that on your resume. I worked on an Oppenheimer.
And I'm not saying the ability for Nolan to capture them, but the use of each one of them felt right. Even Dane DeHaan was just in it. He didn't even have like a speaking part barely.
Yeah.
He had like 2 lines in the room with the big flower centerpiece.
Yeah.
Other than that, it was just like, he's just out there brooding and you're like, he's the red herring for who gave the papers away or whatever.
Yeah.
You know? Right. So much stuff to love about this movie. I'm really glad I got to rewatch it because it's at 3 hours. I probably wasn't going to revisit it for a while. And I don't have a physical media copy of it. I figured probably not going to be watching this for years. As soon as I finished it, I went and ordered one online.
Yeah.
So I got the disc coming now because
Nice.
It's even better the second time.
Yeah. Cool. I wrote down my thoughts, so I'll just kind of do my own letterbox.
Like an essay on there.
All right.
Yeah, I got a lot to say. So kind of similar to what Pete said about watching it the first time and being kind of just blown away by the spectacle and the imagery of everything and the score and, as Tyler would say, bombastic presentation of everything. Bombastic. Coming out of the theater, I was very impressed by this movie. It was a lot of information and dialogue. It was very kind of overwhelming the first time because it's just about this guy's story and his life and development of this project and everything. So it's just like a information overload. And so it was kind of hard for me to retain everything. But the movie left me with a feeling of dread, much like what Oppenheimer himself is feeling at the end of the movie. And on this rewatch, it was a lot easier for me to absorb everything, and since I know where it's going to go.
Right.
and all of the context for everything. And something that I didn't realize watching the first time was that there are two things about this movie that it does a lot of things well, but it definitely does these two things very well. And it's the editing and the performances of this movie.
Yeah.
The editing, Oscar winning, by the way. Jennifer Lame, I think is her name. The editing of this does a great job at keeping the pace of this story without it getting stale or boring. And there are not many scenes in this movie that are very long. Once you're in a scene, it's only there for a few minutes, and then it just cuts to the next scene, and then the next scene.
They keep the pace really strong.
Yeah, I did notice that. Yeah.
It's very like this. It just kind of keeps it like as soon as it starts to get maybe a little too long, it goes to the next one, and then it goes to the next one. And there are definitely like longer scenes, like some of the courtroom scenes that are a little bit longer, and him in that room being interrogated, which is not a trial, but
I like how it spends just a bit there and then back. And then a bit there and back.
Oh my God, it's like the waves on that device thing when they find out that the atom splitting. That's how. Oh my God, Christopher Nolan is a genius.
So yeah, the editing does a great job at keeping the pace of the story, and so along with the editing, the consistent score, the music throughout the movie kind of makes the movie feel like it's just one long montage. What I've noticed about Nolan and his movies and some of the scenes in his movies, not just this one, is that he likes to put a lot of buttons at the end of some scenes with dialogue, and that kind of goes with, like I said, a lot of his movies. Like the movies winking at you saying, wasn't that line so clever?
Yeah.
There's some of that, and or some of the presentation of some lines where Oppenheimer is talking to the one student that he has.
Yeah.
And he's like, how can this happen and this happen? It's paradoxical, yet it works.
Theory can only take you so far.
Yeah. But that would be like one kind of, I guess, gripe with just like Nolan's writing in general. Mm-hmm. But this movie does a really good job at showing like the horrifying consequences of what happens to somebody's psyche when...
Oh, I'm still unspotted.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, it's all for naught.
No. I just wanted to take my headphones off for a second.
Yeah, but this movie does a good job of showing his inner turmoil and the things that he starts questioning himself because he's so focused on just the science part of it.
Yeah.
And doing something that would be this big of an achievement that could mean something this big, but not going further than that and realizing what the consequences could mean. And they do a good job at like kind of foreshadowing that when I can't remember which character is like they need us now, but not after we're done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it does a good job thinking about putting us in the mindset of him when he's after they do the test and he's seeing or having essentially visions, and they do that really, really cool effect on him in that speech where he's saying these things, but inside of his brain, it's like with the visual effects and the visions that he's having with a burnt corpse on the bottom, and is really, really effective. And the way this movie looks is fantastic. So yeah, I would agree that this was it's 3 hours long. It didn't feel like 3 hours long when I was watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I thought the Albert Einstein actor was fantastic. He looked like Albert Einstein.
Go figure.
Like
that's actually him.
It'd be weird if you
Oh,
look like...
it is?
It'd be weird if you look like Denzel Washington.
Yeah, that would probably would
They're like,
weird.
but he can play the part. He
Hey,
barely
Travis,
German accent.
Scoot over a little bit.
But I think
Scoot over a little bit,
Tyler.
Oh, what?
Scoot over a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
All right.
You guys are you're wiggling out of your spot over there.
Oh, how?
There you go.
Got the wiggles.
I think I wanted to have more focus on his internal struggle of creating a weapon of mass destruction.
I feel like you spent a lot of time with that.
Well, I was gonna say, even though there was like not really any internal dialogue, Cillian Murphy's like he emoted so well at like you don't need the internal dialogue or like
You wanted VO.
Yeah, or something. I don't know.
He's like, I don't think this is a good idea.
I know he's like, what if this general turns him back, stabs me in the back?
But yeah.
And
That
then he
level,
keeps saying,
that level of writing.
He
I
keeps
need.
thinking, Theory can only get you so far. Maybe I should get this.
But but at the end of the day, though, Cillian Murphy emoted so well of someone who was struggling with like what he had just done, because there's also a line, I can't remember who said it. Someone said, "Oppenheimer, you couldn't even run a burger stand."
Yeah.
And he's like, "No, I couldn't." Because he's only good at science and stuff, and so
Well, he's also not good at math. Him and Einstein both are bad at math.
yeah,
Which is, I think it's a good message to have, because I feel like people put too much pressure on themselves. I'm not a good artist. I can't draw. I'm dumb.
yeah,
Or, I don't know math very well. I'm dumb.
yeah,
Lean into what you are good at.
yeah.
Making
and-
bombs.
He's also not good at, I mean, they say it earlier in the movie, he's not good at the practical part. He's good at theory,
yeah,
but he leaves it into other people's hands to do the lab work.
He's a manager.
Yeah.
yeah.
He's a project manager.
Yeah.
But I think Cillian Murphy really like emoted well, like with like those like close shots of him like staring, like contemplating like what he's doing.
I'm sending this episode to Gossip Girl.
He,
She is going to be pissed.
yeah, well, I bet she would be. And
Well, she hasn't written in a while because I started editing the likes out of the shows. I don't know if you noticed that.
had I been saying like a lot right now?
Yeah, for the last 2.5 hours.
My apologies. I
Just
thought
say
I
what
was doing so
Just
well.
say what you need to say.
Excuse me, it's that
called-
that's that sriracha.
It's like self-editing. You don't have to say, that's interesting, and here's why. Just say why it's interesting.
I thought he emoted very well.
Okay.
As someone who's struggling internally by making a weapon of mass destruction, because he understands the physics of it.
But you said that you wish they showed more of that.
You like what you were given, but you wanted more?
Well, so I did want more. I wanted more of his personal life rather than
It was all personal. The whole thing was his personal life.
no, like
It's called Oppenheimer.
It's a biopic. It's not about the bomb. I mean,
his
a big chunk of it is, but even that you're still...
his civilian life. Get the court stuff out of, and then get the interrogation stuff out.
You didn't like the courtroom stuff?
Except for the Florence Pugh part. You keep that in, but
creep.
no, I didn't like the court stuff at all. I felt like
Really?
it added nothing to the story.
But it's a huge part about his legacy.
I don't care.
Then you're watching a biopic, my guy.
No, I
only want to know about part of his life, not the important stuff.
exactly.
Instead of the court
That's
court
exactly
stuff
what I'm saying.
and what the consequences and results of him doing this were, I'd rather see him. What does he like to do on Sunday mornings?
I know. I want more of the scene where he's in his room throwing glass against the wall for some reason.
That was cool.
Speculation about what that meant. I have my own theories.
He's learning about gravity.
What do you think? What do you think, Tyler?
I don't know.
I think that he was
Testing.
yeah, just I don't know. I don't have any theories. I think he was just doing it for
Fun.
some science fun stuff.
Science fun stuff.
I don't know.
Well, there's the scene when he
I'm sure there's a significance to it.
when
Yeah.
he first meets Emily Blunt, he talks about how everybody accepts that solid matter is solid, but in reality, our atoms are just clashing against each other.
Yeah.
And in theory, if you actually look into the molecular structure and whatnot, like an electron is not a solid state, it's a cloud.
Yeah.
So in theory, at any given time, the randomness of the electron cloud could allow something to pass through something else.
Yeah.
And that's basically the idea behind Buckaroo Banzai across the ninth dimension. That's what they basically say. It's like, we're going to vibrate the electrons at just the right frequency so you can pass through the other dimension.
Yeah.
I think he's like throwing it up against the wall. He's like, one of these days it's going to go right through. That's what I think.
It could be. I mean,
I like that. I like that one.
I haven't seen Buckaroo Banzai, but
We reviewed it for the show.
Yeah, we
but we didn't watch that.
Oh, you didn't?
No, it was a fan pick. Someone else watched it.
Oh, okay. I watched it for that, and then I think Tyler did
yeah, I
too.
watched
Yeah,
it.
I think
You're
Yeah.
right. That was Mike's pick, Mike Ross.
But there is, I don't think it's that, because I've seen something else where we can get through this wall if we vibrate at the right frequency.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't remember what movie it's from.
It's from a lot of stuff. I've seen it a
Yeah.
number of because it is
I know
like
what you're talking about. I just
it
can't
is. It's
remember.
theoretical physics. I mean, it's like the
Yeah.
idea that electrons. I think it's electrons or is it photons? They have two different states. If you're looking at a photon, it creates like works like a sine wave.
Yeah.
Middle class science class.
If you're not looking at it, it works like an abstract sort of wave. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like the fact that somebody is watching the photons changes the way that they move through the atmosphere or whatever. And it's all, there's so much theoretical bullshit and all like an actual practical, because you can measure that. That's a practical, function. But before we get into any further, a couple things. Steven is in the chat.
Hey, Steve.
From Montreal. What's up, buddy? He says Oppenheimer's a 5-star shebang. He saw it in IMAX. Absolutely. Nolan just aced it with the sound and the silence. And then I wanted to read a couple of, not read reviews, but just give some ratings from some listeners of the show on Letterboxd.
Oh, okay.
Matt Stillman, 3 stars. The outdoor scenes and sound were impressive, he says.
That's funny.
Stu from Stu World Order says 4 stars, and he has a review on his website. Listener Dallas says 5 stars, lives up to the hype. Despite knowing the source material, I was still covered in tension, sweat truth through the whole thing. Jacob Berghardt, writer-director of Headcount that we had on the show, the brother duo. 5 stars. How to blow up a pipeline origins. Mitch Burns, 4.5 stars, and he has a very long dissertation about this, but he loved it. Binge Lord Dan, 4.5 stars. A 3-hour movie that's riveting is something special. The sound design is spectacular. Though I've never been a fan of Nolan's sound mixing, that still doesn't detract from this experience. Joe Bridges, 4 stars, added it to my 2023 best of list.
Nice.
And added it to his updated Oscar Best Pictures ranking list, which I have right here. He has it put at the 18th best picture of all time.
Okay.
Wow.
You want to guess what number 1 is?
First of all, I got to think of a best picture.
I don't know. Just tell us.
Everything Everywhere.
Casablanca.
Oh.
Everything Everywhere was just past this one. It's number 19 on his list.
Oh, okay.
And then just before it is, coincidentally, Lawrence of Arabia and the Bridge on River Kwai, which we cover on the show.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Something about the way the movie is presented. It's presented in color and it's presented in black and white. And what it means, the scenes that are in black and white are objective and are essentially the facts of the story of what actually happened. And everything in color is subjective, essentially Nolan's interpretation of everything.
Okay.
His adaptation of the book.
Oh, because we don't have privy information in Los Alamos. We don't know what happened in there. 100%.
Exactly. No. And because I'm pretty sure that it's Oppenheimer, there's a recording of him reading the I am become death.
Oh, there is.
Yes.
I've heard it.
But there is not, to our knowledge, he did not say it during sex.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you may not have.
And that maybe
I wish he would have, though.
But so that's that interpretation, like in the movie and how it's presented, which was a very interesting, very intriguing and interesting way of doing it. That's certainly a way.
Just, hey, come here, egghead. Let me. Maybe she gets off on the intellectualness of him.
Yeah, you know what? That character was very
Gene.
It was very frustrating.
Gene.
It was very frustrating because
she had bipolar disorder.
Oh, is that what it was?
I don't know. She just seemed like she did.
Because she would always call him to hang out with romantic intent, and then she would reject him immediately when he would come over.
She'd say, "Why do you keep calling? You can stop answering." She's, "I'm always going to answer. I'm always going to call."
Yeah, I know.
It's toxic relationship. Classic toxic relationship.
That is classic toxic relationship. I really like the music in this movie, though. I thought
very good.
And there was always a score playing.
Pretty much. It's nonstop.
Yeah, and it really always set the mood for each scene, and it was subtle. It wasn't overbearing. It was very subtle. It wasn't like you. Oh, there we go again. It wasn't.
What?
That it was saying like
Oh.
it wasn't overbearing. It was perfect background music setting the mood essentially for for what was playing out.
I also thought Los Alamos was like its own character.
A love letter.
A love letter.
Bomb making.
Yeah, that was very interesting.
What I also really liked about this movie was the essentially Nolan's version of telling us like this whole movie is like based on a true story, obviously, but it's like a cautionary tale, but the tale has been told in real life.
That's just history, baby.
And we are living the post bomb making life, like kind of what you said earlier about, well, what if Japan hadn't, or what if they had developed a bomb before us, what kind of would we be living in? But because he was on our side, essentially.
Yeah.
This is where we are.
Hitler sealed his own fate by kicking all the Jews out.
That was
all
my
the smart Jews out.
That was
they came work for us.
That was one of my favorite exchanges in the movie too, where he's talking to Matt Damon, and Matt Damon said something along the lines of, "They're already ahead of us," and then Oppenheimer, like a light bulb goes off in his head, and he said, "Well, we have a foot in the door already." And Matt Damon's character is like, "Why?" Because of Hitler's hatred for the Jews.
Yeah, so he won't work with Jewish.
Yeah.
But near the end of the movie, and sometimes during the third act, there's visions of like the world essentially being encompassed by fire.
Oh yeah.
And what I really loved was the end, because like at the same time being a real life cautionary tale in which it already happened, this is the next worst case scenario in which this is what now is possible in our real life, and that we could just completely destroy our
atmosphere.
Yeah. And when they're doing the test, and he learns that the chances of
it's a non-zero chance
atmospheric ignition is near zero.
Yeah,
tell me there's a chance. I mean, what do you expect to get with just theory? Zero, preferably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Theory can only get you so far.
Which means that chance is still near zero nowadays. And if one just gets launched, then that chance is still very.
Then we're all going to the vault. We're all going to go to Fallout Town.
Why are people so stupid? Why are people so stupid? I don't get it.
They're so smart.
This was what I was thinking too, watching this movie, is that like war
what is it good for?
In conflicts.
War should be illegal.
In conflicts like between countries and nations. Why?
Get over
countries and nations. Huh?
Yeah, it's just why? Why?
What are you guys fighting about?
I think I think I don't. But I mean,
what do you
like,
mean
it's
why?
all,
What do you mean why though?
well, just
Why is that confusing to you?
well, it's confusing because just why can't we just
Can we just get along?
go about our day?
I think they have a song about that. It's called "Why Can't We Be Friends" by War, the aptly named War band.
What is it good for?
Yeah.
So I don't know, like this movie,
Because there's people like Vladimir Putin in the world which want to basically take over the world.
I just don't understand people like that. Is
He's
probably
evil.
what I'm saying.
I don't
evil.
get it, man. He doesn't think he's evil. Well, maybe he does. I don't know.
No, he doesn't. But
You know what's really funny is there's a
I have
video.
a childlike naiveness.
There's a video of Putin being gifted a Burmese mountain dog or something like that, puppy.
Okay.
He's being gifted by the prime minister of Belarus or whatever. He's kind of like his little bitch, like his side piece.
Along with Trump.
Yeah, exactly. He just slurping off Putin all day.
Okay.
And he brings him a puppy, but when the prime minister pulls it out of the cage, he does it by the scruff of his neck. He's just holding it. He's like, "Hey, look at this!" And in the very real sense, it's okay to do that because that's how parent dogs pick up their baby dogs. But it looks terrible, and it's a big fucking puppy.
Yeah.
So he's holding it, and the dog's just like this, kind of floating around. And Putin, the first time I ever seen him show affection to anything, he's like, "Ugh." You can see it on his face. Give me the dog. Like, don't hold it like that.
Yeah.
And then have common ground.
I know. Who knew? He's actually a person.
Maybe we can end the invasion of Ukraine by giving him a puppy.
Maybe.
Somebody
hopefully.
already did give him a puppy, obviously.
Yeah, and it only
We'll give him another one.
It only made it worse.
It only made it.
Usually I feel like war happens or starts because there's one country. I want to take your country now.
Pretty much.
It's just stupid, man.
It's like the retaliatory efforts against the people who are trying to take your land.
So that's what this.
But why is it your land?
So that's what this movie like kind of.
Your land is my land. My land is your
If
land.
someone tries to take America's land and we fight back, the Native Americans are going, "Oh, okay. I guess thanks."
But also my point about AI, it was an inevitability that we would create a weapon of mass destruction. It was always gonna happen.
Is AI? Are you saying AI is the weapon of mass destruction? It's a slow death.
It's a slow death. It's just going to happen again.
Like capitalism.
Again and again and again. Yeah, I mean it's an inevitability. So God damn it. So I was just thinking how Oppenheimer, he had to bear this weight because he had to do this. This wasn't a choice for him. He was the only person who could do this.
In theory, that's not true because Matt Damon chooses him because he has something to lord over him. He has his communist ties, so he has basically
He's holding him hostage.
He's holding him hostage essentially. And he's
Oh, I didn't really think about that.
they say it in the movie at some point. He says, you know, you chose me on purpose because I have skeletons in my closet.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. And so who knows who it could have been? Oppenheimer, or could have been somebody else. I don't know any other scientists that era besides Einstein. So
yeah, I don't either. No.
I liked
Teller.
Who?
Teller. Now Benny Safdie.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Benny
Also
Safdie.
Niels Bohr.
Yeah.
I liked him. What's his name? Kenneth Branagh. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was good. Oh, totally forgot. Gary Oldman's in this too. It's the president.
Yeah, for a brief moment.
Yeah.
Which is an exchange that actually happened. Like he called him a crybaby.
Get this crybaby out of
He's
here.
basically like Foghorn Leghorn, Harry Truman in this.
Now I say you get this crybaby out of here.
I say.
Now you telling me you're sad that you dropped a bomb on a bunch of, well, I'm not going to say what he said, but
Well, he does make a good point though, because Oppenheimer justified for feeling the way he is, but he is not responsible for them dropping the bomb.
He's just responsible for
and
creating it.
It's Churchill, not Churchill.
Truman.
Is you think they care about who made the bomb? You think that's what they were thinking when it was dropped?
oh yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, but still, it doesn't. When I was so frustrated.
They're like, damn you, J. Robert Oppenheimer.
J. Whoever Robert Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer.
Yeah. Mendoza.
But I thought Truman, like he was such a jackass for saying get this crybaby out of here, and
But-
it was such an apathetic way to look at it. And you know what? Also, what I was thinking, how just like scary it is when they're talking about, well, we can't do it on the city because Japan, that's a culturally significant place in
And I
Japan.
honeymoon there.
Also, I honeymooned there. Yeah.
Yeah, and I honeymoon there. What?
Kyoto. Yeah.
So you guys are talking about killing 70,000 people.
They're only estimating. They actually think it's less than that. They think it's going to be like 20,000 or something.
Yeah.
That's still a lot of people. That's women and children.
So that scene is a perfect one to get into a little bit because, for my money, that's the most terrifying scene of all of the movie.
Yes.
They're sitting in the room, and it's I don't know, 15 people maybe.
Yeah, it's 10
that
to
are
15 people
that are responsible, basically deciding which 10 to 200,000 people are going to get killed by these bombs.
Yeah.
And the one general makes a really good point. If in theory, if it's inevitability that they're going to draw out the war, because the Japanese at the time, the culture was never surrender, sacrifice yourself above all else, and kamikazes and all that, blah, blah, blah. If they're going into an island hopping mission or whatever, which is exactly what they would have to do, hop from island to island. They got, soldiers at all these islands and stuff like that. It would be a long, drawn out, bloody, deadly battle that probably would have about the same amount of casualties if they are from their projections, 20,000-ish. They're like, we can do that, and it's going to lose the same amount of Japanese people, but we're also going to lose a ton of Americans with that. Or we can do the bomb, and we're going to lose the same amount of Japanese, but not an Americans.
Yeah.
And the shitty part about that is that you're guaranteed, you're planning for the civilian casualties at the same time.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to warn them, And it's, and I get what they're doing. It's good. Don't drop it in the city center, drop it over this military area, blah, 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 all that stuff. But the cavalier conversation of it all, the bureaucratic evil of it is so haunting. And that one line where he's like, yeah, me and my wife went on our honeymoon there. So it's like, fuck you, dude.
Yeah, seriously.
What a cunt,
Have you seen the miniseries, The Pacific?
No.
It's by the same guys who did Band of Brothers. No. They cover the skirmishes and battles in Japan, and it's brutal.
Yeah,
like those guys.
I've listened to hardcore
shit.
history, and there's a lot of good stuff on there.
Yeah,
though.
there is some hardcore shit that was happening in the Pacific, and I think Yeah, I agree with you. The cavalier conversation about it, and we're not talking about 100 people or 200 people even. It's like in the double digit thousands.
It's in 5 digits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very
It was unnerving.
disturbing to hear these guys talk about it because they're essentially also being racist.
Yes.
And well, we can't sacrifice American lives. It's okay if we kill 70,000
But I mean,
Japanese people.
that's the nature of war, though.
I know.
Kill the more people on their side, not less people on our side.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
I don't know if that's considered. I wouldn't consider that racist. I
Well,
would
I
consider
mean-
that it's just the nature of war.
I think
because if it was a civilian war, they'd be saying the same thing about let's kill a bunch of Southerners instead of Northerners, and that's not a different race.
this movie briefly mentioned it. The fire bombings in Japan. I think it killed more people than the bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Fire bombings?
Yeah. The U.S. Military dropped napalm on this like old Japanese city, and because all of their buildings were wooden, they burned up very quickly and it burned up a lot of people. I don't know. I don't quote me on if that had a higher kill count or not, but it was an atrocity
Yeah.
that was committed. That's not really talked about as much.
Yeah. The Louis Strauss's storyline, Robert Downey Jr.'s role in this movie, as he was just like the head of the
Atomic Commission.
Yeah, AEC, Atomic Energy Commission.
Yeah.
I think is what it
Yes,
stands
yes.
for. And he brought in Oppenheimer to, I can't remember exactly what he brought him in to do, but then like, the first day he's there, he misinterprets what Oppenheimer's having a conversation about.
It is so funny.
And then what I didn't notice is that whole thing comes around at the end of the movie,
that scene is revisited like 4 times.
which essentially is the starting point of the, not indictment, but like the trial of Cillian Murphy,
The takedown
of Oppenheimer. And
Step 1, embarrassing him in court. Step 2, the duck pond.
yeah. What did he say about me to Einstein that made Einstein not want to look at me? It must be about me.
What a loser.
The interrogation, like Jason Clarke playing the very
He's good.
intense
Yeah.
interrogator, was really, really good. When he's really going in on Oppenheimer and like towards the end of the movie, questioning him, and they're like Jason Clarke's is just getting more and more like louder,
Yeah.
and not letting him answer basically. And then paired with the visuals of the extremely bright lights and really well done. And Macon Blair is his representation, I guess, as his lawyer.
Oh, yeah, I forgot Macon Blair.
Completely unfair not trial.
Kangaroo court.
Yeah, it's
It's a kangaroo court. Yeah.
it's extremely, and on purpose too,
Yeah.
from Louis Strauss. And obviously it didn't work in his favor in the end of the whole thing because Rami Malek said one thing. And he was kind of a comedic character, Rami Malek, because there's one scene where he is like trying to get Oppenheimer to sign something, and he knocks it out of his hand.
Yeah.
And there's a shot of Rami Malek standing back up into frame, and his eyes is just like he just
Yeah. He was like a quiet little worm.
little mousy guy.
Yeah.
But he ended up coming back in Oppenheimer's favor and helped make Strauss's case. I don't know.
Legitimate?
Basically just
illegitimate, basically.
it brought the truth and the reality of it all to the light.
Yeah.
But what about this, Mr. Strauss?
Another couple actors that we never even mentioned at the beginning. Matthew Modine, Joker from Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah.
He's an old man. He's an old
Yeah,
man.
I was gonna say he's old.
He's
He's
an
an old man.
And then Macon Blair, great. Love to see him and stuff. And David Dastmalchian.
Yes, as the guy who essentially was the second level of starting the whole
He gets,
investigation.
yeah, he gets the information leaked to him, and he starts the investigation. The Kangaroo Court.
I feel like on the second watch, it was a little bit more obvious that obviously it was Strauss who gave him the file.
I figured it the whole time with the first time, but I will say in theater, I didn't really appreciate Downey Jr.'s performance. I was just like, yeah, he's fine, and he's playing the part okay.
Yeah.
But now seeing the machinations of his whole like machine put in place to take down Oppenheimer, seeing his little nuance of that like what it actually meant, it was a lot more effective. And I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe he did deserve the Oscar.
Yeah. And even Alden Ehrenreichs, and I don't know if he was like his lawyer or something. He was just like,
he's an aide.
yeah.
He was an aide.
And his kind of turn also on Strauss as well.
I like that.
Was good to see. It was nice to see.
Also, Jack Quaid, another person. God damn, there's so many
Oh
people. in
yeah, I
this.
saw Jack. Yeah,
He's playing bongos to his heart's delight.
I know, Bongo Man. He's on 2 scenes. He has bongos.
I remember seeing. I was just like, "Hey, that's Jack Quaid."
Wow, great, awesome. Yeah, they didn't even tell him the cameras were rolling in those scenes. He was just boop, 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 bap, boop, boop, bap.
Yeah.
And someone's, "Hey, Nolan, should we tell him to stop?"
He's like, we've been rolling for 10 minutes.
Wasting that IMAX film. Emily Blunt's performance as Kitty, like an alcoholic,
She's good.
troubled partner to Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
She was good. And the first time I watched it, I was like, she was okay. But the second time, it landed on me a little better.
Yeah, I agree.
That scene where I think it's when he gets approved for the project or something like that, or that, it was when the test was successful.
Oh, yeah.
And he comes home and he was successful. She's just like, let's celebrate.
No, she's already drunk.
Yeah.
And
The kid's crying.
and then
I go to him all goddamn day.
Yeah, and then her mood, the immediate change to her mood was really effective for me because clearly she was hammered,
Yeah.
and so she was wanting to get some of that bird, and then as soon as she knew that it wasn't going to happen, she was like, "Yeah, fine, fuck you."
Yeah, they do. The movie does a good job in painting Oppenheimer in a very not great light because he, in real life, was not a great person as well.
Yeah.
And they don't make you like, you are kind of rooting for him, but
You can sympathize with him, but
he's obviously and they say in the movie that he's a womanizer and he cheats on he's constantly cheating on his partners, and it's such a weird relationship that Emily Blunt's or Kitty knows that and knows that he went to see.
It's a lot more common back then.
To see Jean is like, you went to go see her, and you said you had to see her. Why did you have to see her? Well, she said she had to see me. So
yeah, I wanted that to be the vision of her killing herself and or being killed.
Yeah, I was confused about that a little bit.
I'm assuming that in reality, it wasn't 100% confirmed. It's just like a suspected suicide.
Yeah.
But he said there were barbiturates in her bloodstream, blah, 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 blah. So maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was foul play.
Yeah.
In one scene, it looks like she drowned herself. And the next scene, you can see the gloved hand on the back of her head.
And there was a scene previous where it looks like she was being followed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
it's ambiguous.
I appreciated that. I think that if we don't know,
Then
and it's a biopic, why make it so
why answer
pointed?
it one way or the other?
Well, it's interesting too because you can assume because of the way her character is portrayed as being like a quote unquote crazy person.
Oh my gosh, you can't say that.
What, crazy?
Yeah, you can't.
That's
say that.
wait, that's off of our
Yep, can't say it.
vernacular now. Okay, mentally ill.
Thank you. Thank you.
Since she was portrayed as mentally ill, you could assume that suicide would have been an obvious reason for her demise.
No one would suspect otherwise.
Right.
Oh, big surprise.
And so if she
Big surprise. Look at that nut job over there.
but you can't say nut job either.
I'm sorry. I don't know what to say.
But if the FBI was following her, they would know her behavior and patterns, so they would know what to do to.
Because she was also part of the party.
She was deep in the Communist Party.
Yeah, because that's where they met.
Yes.
And at the same time, he's going out to see her, but they're not allowed to leave because of the knowledge that they have and what they're doing there.
Yeah.
And if he were to tell her what he's doing there, and she's a communist, or she was associated with the Communist Party at that time, that the American government and communism at that time was not favorable for communism at all.
To say the least, yeah.
And that was an interesting subplot of the movie of his brother being in the party and Oppenheimer having associations with it and making donations to the Spanish Civil War resistance, which was very interesting because at that time, I think at the time when we went to see it the first time, I was reading For Whom the Bell Tolls, which is a story about the Spanish Civil War.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, oh, I'm reading a book about that right now.
Look at you, Mr. Book.
Yeah. Oh,
Haladi-da.
You think you're hot shit because you know words.
I read words. So I just thought that was kind of interesting, parallel at the time.
I got a couple things I want to read specifically about Oppenheimer's accent. Robert Oppenheimer's father was a German Jewish immigrant. His mother's father, Robert's grandfather, was also a German Jewish immigrant, but she was born in New York, and she spoke American English. They were part of the American high society, and Robert's father had learned British English from an Oxford tutor, and most of his German accent was replaced with an Oxonian accent.
Oxonian?
Oxonian from Oxford, England. They spoke only English, and Robert learned German from study. So he basically had an American-sounding mother and a British-sounding father, both speaking English in the household. So very similar to how, because his affectation is a little strange in this.
Yeah,
Well,
I worked with
story.
I've worked with a guy, you know him, Don,
yeah.
who he had a real similar way of talking, kind of like that. Pete, I don't know what you want me to do with these goddamn people. I know I didn't fall off a turnip truck yesterday. You know, he had that real kind of sing-songy way of talking, and then talking in phrases.
It's interesting that you bring that up because I had to keep reminding myself that Oppenheimer wasn't from like Germany or anything like that. He was from New York. Because his accent it doesn't traditionally sound American.
A little bit of that, like kind of transatlantic.
Yeah,
A little bit.
Right.
Another thing about this, like the Jewish kind of side of the story, because he is Jewish and he is sending money to help them over there. In
them
over there.
Come on, we're getting canceled for sure.
Them. Can't say them.
Can't say them.
Wait, we can't say
unless
them.
you're talking about the Ant movie from the 50s.
Oh, sorry, they thems over there.
I think
Yeah,
we
exactly.
just need to. We'll start the first ever sign language podcast.
There we go.
And I can't remember who he's talking to, but he's like, it's not your people they're killing over there.
Yeah,
And
that was a really good line.
and he was like,
Oh, that's a Jew. Yeah, there, exactly. I like Krummelt's character of Robbie being like extra Jewy. He's like the proto Jew in this one. Oh, that's a Jew. Yeah, I loved his character. He even offers him an orange at something and says, "You look thin, eat."
Yeah,
oh yeah,
It's like,
here's an orange.
yeah,
it's like thank you.
Orange slices. What am I at soccer practice?
orange is good when you're malnourished. But yeah, he specifically, they meet on the train and he's talking about, you know, how come you don't sound like a Jew? And they don't speak it very much on my side of New York. And I was like, I really wish I knew more about New York because it's like the different neighborhoods or whatever.
Yeah.
Whenever someone's, Upper East Side, no, thank you.
We should
I
all
don't
go to New York together.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
I'm going in July.
Oh,
What?
Cool. I'll meet you there.
Yeah.
Can I hitch a ride?
No,
Okay.
Are you driving?
I'm not. I'm driving. I'm flying over
Oh,
there.
yeah, you're going
and
to-
then driving up. Yeah.
You're going to the banks of the Three River.
I like how you just said no immediately.
I know. Yeah, that will not happen.
Hey,
That's
give
okay.
me the voice real quick.
Okay, hold on.
That's going to be a no. You cannot join me on my adventure.
Perfect. Okay, so that's that about his accent. About Tyler's claim that the fire bombings took more people than the atomic bombs did.
Fact check.
Fact check time.
Snopes.com.
This is about the bombing of Tokyo. It was Tokyo.
Okay.
So there was a firebombing there, high altitude bombing that preceded the Operation Meeting House. It did not deliberately target civilians. However, the Japanese military had long made it a practice to place factories in residential areas in the hope of disguising them. The result is what the bombers could not avoid inflicting civilian casualties. With the adoption of the new bombing strategy, no distinction was made between industrial, military, and civilian targets. The firebombing was comprehensive, meant to destroy the entire section of a city all at once. LeMay later said, killing Japanese didn't bother me very much at the time. It was getting the war over that bothered me. The firebombings continued until the end of the war, with an estimated 300 to 330,000 Japanese civilians killed and at least 8 million left homeless. And with an estimated 40% of Japan's urban areas destroyed, 60% of Tokyo itself went up in flames. I think that's more than the bombs.
Yeah, by the end of it, it was like 120,000 or something.
Like that.
By the end of the movie.
I want a biopic about the guy that was in Hiroshima, survived it, and then rode his bike to Nagasaki and then survived that bomb too.
Oh, that guy. Yeah.
That one dude. You're like, what are the odds? Boing.
That guy should get him to a casino.
That's right. Gotta go Nagasaki.
God.
Gotta hit the strip. Yeah, that's right.
Our elderly Japanese listeners are loving this.
I mean, yeah. This is pre 9/11, so that's all we have to talk about.
Well, to close, I think our review of Oppenheimer, I'm going to read part of this article where John Carpenter says Oppenheimer is okay and all right and not the movie of the century. The Thing director called Nolan's Best Picture-winning historical drama just okay in an interview for a newsletter called Last Donut of the Night. Oppenheimer was okay. It was all right. Everyone's praising it as the movie of the century. I don't know about that. But is Carpenter a fan of Nolan's films in general? He says, yeah, I guess, sure.
Thank God.
A ringing endorsement.
He is my spirit animal.
The director instead pivoted and pointed to another 2024 Academy Award contender saying, I don't want to talk about things that I haven't enjoyed. I liked Maestro a great deal. I thought that was terrific.
Oh, God.
Yeah. All right. You lost your credibility.
Tyler, you got to watch Maestro now and figure out if you agree.
Okay.
And it turns out that Carpenter wasn't crazy about the Barbenheimer craze as a whole. The filmmaker told the newsletter his thoughts on Barbie, simply stating, did I like it? No comment. Well, Carpenter had more than a few comments about Barbie in 2023. I can't believe I watched Barbie. It's just not my generation, Carpenter said. I had nothing to do with Barbie dolls. I didn't know who the Ken doll's sidekick Alan was. I mean, I can sum it up. She says, I don't have a vagina. And then at the end, I'm going to a gynecologist. That's the movie to me.
Wow, how reductive.
Yeah.
Well, that I can disagree with him. I love Barbie.
Yeah. And then Oliver Stone also has chimed in, called the movie an infantilization of filmmaking before watching it. This is about Barbie. So not about, I'm not going to read that.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that wraps it up on our review of Nolan's historical biopic epic, Oppenheimer. Let's get into some grades. Pete.
Oh, Oppenheimer. Oh,
JJJ, Robert Oppenheimer.
That's right. Cillian Murphy. Yeah, this is it's borderline A+ for me. I give it an A.
Nice.
Yeah, it's very, very good. Not quite a 5-star. And I'll tell you that the stuff that took it away from me was the cheesy Hollywood small lines, like the buttons at the end of the scene, where there's a number of things where it's just so. It's funny because it almost made me look back at some of Nolan's other stuff, like Batman Begins and Dark Knight, where
he does the same. He does that in the Batman series.
Yes,
too,
he has a great. I mean, he's got the hallmarks of a lot of his movies. You know, the song that kind of runs throughout the whole thing and whatever. But when if I could confine nuclear physics in New Mexico, I would. And then it comes back, he does it, and then all of a sudden it comes back, and his brother comes out and goes, nuclear physics in New Mexico, right? And they all get a good laugh out of it. And then just a lot of stuff where he's talking about, I see other things in other worlds, or the lines between the dimensions. And it's just a little telegraphed that this is a setup for something that's going to happen later.
Person's like, what the shit are you talking about?
What are you talking about, man? I'm asking if you want some coffee cake.
I just want you to stop saying odd shit.
Yeah. I know. And he keeps saying, theory will only get you so far.
Time is a flat circle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I love it when he said that line. And then, of course, the most egregious one, the I am become death.
Yeah, that one was.
It was like in the movie, you're waiting for him to say it because that's the only thing you've ever heard about Oppenheimer is that he says that.
Sure. And I'm like, great, put it in at the end, like the real scene when I think there's a camera on him when he says it too. Like, I think we have video footage of him saying it.
Yeah, there is.
It's like, why not put it there? Why not have a conversation with somebody like, you're going to appear on NBC tonight and talk about your role in all this. And, he's tortured and he goes along with it and goes, I know I have become death. Destroy your world. And I don't like it too much.
Me no like it.
Yeah. No, sir.
Me no like you.
No, sir, I don't like it. That took away from me a little bit. And then also the kind of goofy old man Oppenheimer makeup at the end.
Oh, yeah.
Like him and Teller didn't look great. Emily Blunt looked great as an old woman, but like he looked like a...
They did make him look smaller, though.
It did. He looked shriveled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The rest of the makeup I thought was stellar. Young Cillian
Yeah.
with a high and tight or the high side
Eraser
fade,
head.
Yeah.
the long on top.
Yeah.
You know, he's a little rapscallion. You know,
Yeah.
a genius in the streets.
Yeah.
So those are very small nitpicks that keep it from being a perfect movie for me. But damn, is this a very impactful, large scale movie that I think hits almost every note it wants to. So, hey.
Yeah.
Okay, Tyler, are you still sticking with your B?
Yeah, I am. Like John Carpenter said, this movie's all right. I think
I think you like it better than all right.
Dude, what the fuck?
no, that was a joke. I'm sorry. I enjoyed myself, and like you said earlier in the show, it didn't feel like 3 hours. It felt like a solid 2-hour movie. And I was surprised after I was done with it. I was like, dang, that was 3 hours? All right, well, that was...
All right, time to drive over.
Actually, yes. I got here just in the nick of time.
Finished a mere hour before.
That's going to bite you in the ass one day when you can't get the streaming service to work or whatever.
I know.
Or an emergency happens, the dog starts puking his guts out and you got to pause the movie to go clean it up.
I know. I'm playing a dangerous game here. But
see, listeners, see how much he cares about you.
yeah. All right.
It's a precarious game. At any moment, he could be not unprepared, just like every other week.
That's not true. I'm prepared enough. But yeah, it's still going to be a solid B for me. Based on because I can't see myself rewatching it unless it's going to be in a theater experience.
Oh. So you want to do the opposite. Like,
Yeah.
we watched it in theaters and then at home.
Yeah.
You want to do the opposite.
Yeah. If there was a
I
reshow,
might go see it again if it was in theaters.
if it was
Maybe.
if there was a reshowing in theaters, I would definitely go, because when I was watching it on my crappy computer screen, well, I mean, I had headphones on too, because the sound design is very lush. I kept saying to myself, if I had the opportunity to watch this in theaters,
The Oppenheimer-tunity.
the Oppenheimer too.
Nice.
But yeah, solid B for me. Just well, like I said, it's a solid movie.
Okay.
Also, he's really a big fan of the Florence Pugh scene.
No, I want you to see you fuck.
Yeah, no, those Florence Pugh scenes. Oh my god,
It
got my motor
that is
going.
an interesting scene from Emily Blunt's, from Kitty's perspective.
Yeah, that part was cool.
because
I did like that,
It's because
yeah.
she knows what he's doing or has done on the side.
And she's staring him down,
And
or staring her down.
staring. Yeah, it's staring at him.
The ghost of Jean.
And just like knowing that this is what's happening on the side, and it was very odd because this is Nolan's, I think, first R-rated movie, and because he has made his other movies more accessible in terms of the age groups that he can get to go see it. So it was a good venture into, and his interpretation of sex scenes are interesting.
Very I feel like he's projecting.
Insomnia and Memento both were rated R, but ever since then it's been PG-13.
Okay. All right. So I will also give it a borderline A+. A. Real close.
I know, it's close for me too.
Real close. And for similar reasons to Pete, yeah, it just very tiny nitpicks about some of the dialogue, and
You're all teased. You're edging me. Right on the edge.
some of the writing. The old makeup didn't bother me too much. It was more jarring.
It's such a small scene.
Yeah.
It's like it's hard to really nitpick that much.
Yeah, it was just jarring to me. Just seeing, he's 79 years old. Benny Safdie, I didn't expect Teller and Benny Safdie's character to be that kind of pivotal in Oppenheimer's story, and Emily Blunt having so much disdain.
I love the character.
Like, you shook his fucking hand.
Yeah.
I'd be pissed too. Like, he like has done this shit, and you're like saying thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Sometimes a handshake, even to an enemy, it means a lot.
You're my frenemy.
It's almost like I'm man enough to be able to look in the eyes when you're stabbing me in the front, you know?
But yeah, A, solid A. Just a little bit better on a rewatch.
Nice.
Really, really entertaining. So that was Oppenheimer. And now it's time for the Wheel of Destiny.
1 wheel, 8 slots, 3 hosts. This is the Wheel of Destiny. That's right. Oppenheimer's off the wheel. And before you give us your replacement, I just forgot to mention $100 million budget for Oppenheimer. Seems low.
Really?
Yeah, that seems very low.
Seems a little low. I mean, I don't think there's all that much like CG and stuff in it,
No, he actually blew up a bomb.
but the scale of the production still seems large. $974 million take.
Really?
God
I thought they
damn.
got to $1 billion.
Maybe on a re-release. But it's like 20, 25.
Is that worldwide?
It's worldwide, yeah. Maybe I don't know. I could have sworn I heard that too, but maybe they recalculated.
I think, Barbie got to $1 billion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think Oppenheimer was predicted to get like at least half that, but it got maybe that is correct.
Yeah. But almost $1 billion on a $100 million budget.
That's crazy.
Yeah, $900 million.
He's rolling in it.
Woo!
Christopher Nolan is going to be the
He gets
go-to.
to keep all that money, by the way.
Christopher Nolan, more like Christopher Roland.
All right, Joseph, what are you going to replace Oppenheimer with?
Okay, I know we were kind of briefly mentioned that we want to do something different with the wheel.
We'll do it next week.
Okay, cool. All right, so replacement for Oppenheimer. I thought long and hard about this.
Okay.
In the past, we've done for The Godfather. We just put it on there and watched all three of them.
Oh, okay. I
Or
like where this is
for
going.
before trilogy,
Yeah.
we did that. I think we did it with something else. I can't remember. Maybe it was just those two.
I think it was just those two.
So,
Uh-oh.
not a trilogy.
Okay. A quadrilogy.
No, one less movie.
Okay.
As one movie, though, we're gonna watch them both for one review.
Okay.
Okay. Dune Part 1 and Dune Part 2.
Oh, cool.
As one movie.
I love it.
5.5 hours.
Tyler, you cannot watch that the morning of the show.
I can't. No, I'm gonna. It's gonna have to. I'm gonna have to spread it out. Damn it! Damn it!
Yep. Why? Why are you sad or upset? I didn't want to watch the
Because-
second one.
No, I didn't want to watch the second one because I was lukewarm on the first one, and so I was
This is
like,
going to be great.
God,
I've had.
We can watch it here if you guys want. We can do the whole shebang.
no.
Kick the girls out, turn the volume all the way up.
You don't want to do that? You don't want to watch? Oh, actually, I don't want to watch movies. But it's been my fixation the last
Yeah, it has.
couple months, and not just like the story and everything of it. And so yeah, I want to get my thoughts out. I just have them bottled up.
All right.
I have to annoy Deanna with everything I've learned about it.
Okay.
And I just
You read the book?
I'm
the
like
books?
I'm like almost halfway through for the first the book one, which is part 1 and part 2 together,
Okay.
the story. And
Cool, that'll be fun.
Yeah, I just need to get it out there.
All right.
Yeah. All right, cool. So what we have on the wheel is Dune Part 1, Part 2, all in one sitting.
Mm-hmm.
Notting Hill, also from Joseph. A Very Long Engagement from Binge Lord Dan. Fern Gully from Mackenzie. Mute from Pete. The Brave Little Toaster from Pete. The Iron Claw from Tyler. American History X from Tyler. Okay, we're going to give this a running spin here. This is going to be what we watch next week.
Okay. Oh God.
Oh, Fern Gully.
Fern Gully
From Mackenzie.
From my sister.
Oh, okay. So we
Tyler's
got-
sister, Mackenzie Miner.
Patreon. No, Patreon.
Yeah, Patreon pick.
Oh, Patreon.
This is a Patreon pick. Cool. Fern Gully, a.k.a. Avatar Origin Story.
Yes.
God
Let's
damn
see,
it, Mackenzie.
Fern Gully.
Have you seen Fern Gully?
Yes, I've seen Fern Gully.
I have not.
I've seen it, maybe half of it when I was a kid. This is from, what year is this here?
Should be
1992.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Wow. Rated G, hour and 16 minutes.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's,
76 minutes, this
it's
movie.
It's an easy watch.
This is streaming on Roku, Stars, Tubi, Pluto, Plex, Shout TV, and Fubo.
Nice.
Yeah, you can also rent it for $3 on Amazon in HD.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. In HD. Oops. Forgot that was a 2-button one. So yeah, so we'll watch that and we will get some, maybe we'll get Mackenzie, get a phone call from her and see if she can tell us why she chose that movie.
Yeah.
If she's not able to do it live on the show, maybe we can just do a recording or
Yeah,
you can
I'll,
sit down at your parents' recording studio at home in the Palace.
Yeah, well, she lives in Napa, so I don't know.
Oh yeah.
But I'm gonna text her and
Don't worry, I'll text her.
how do you don't how do you have all my family members' numbers?
We're friends.
My friends.
Yeah. We're friends.
Okay.
Anything else you guys wanted to share or bring up in the discussion before we say goodbye?
No.
Good bit.
I don't got anything.
I think we should do that every month, every week.
No, just yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Joseph. Okay, cool. So thank you to our cool ass yard duties over on Patreon for supporting the show week in, week out. You mean a lot to us. We have a little bit saved up into the bank now from the Patreon, and we have to have a little shop band meeting about how we're going to spend it because we want to improve the show in one way or another.
We have a surplus?
A little bit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we've recouped from the cameras, we've recouped from the lights.
Oh, okay.
And we're now to a point where we
can have a pizza party.
Yeah. Exactly. Extra sausage for Tyler.
Thank you.
Yes. But yeah, so thank you so much for that. We really appreciate it. If you want to support us on the Patreon, hit us up at patreon.com/middleclassfilmclass. But if you just watch on the YouTube channel, that supports us as well. We're well on track by the end of the year to hopefully be in a place where we can actually make some money from the YouTube channel. And, that would be a really cool thing to do because we've been doing this basically for free for almost 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, just so you know, listeners.
Yeah. It takes time.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Time is money.
It's funny because last week we did the late stream and we had so many people in the chat. And I was like, man, it'd be cool to do it every night, start at 6 o'clock. But then it's going to go 6 until 10:30. And literally we deciding to sacrifice our Saturday nights every week forever.
Right.
Forever, the end of time.
For the end of time, yeah. I'm just saying, no expiration date on this for right now.
Yeah.
So anyways, all that to being said, thank you for listening and thank you for supporting us.
Yeah.
Until next time. Thank you for joining us as we get blown away by Oppenheimer.
And get blown by
Florence Pugh.
By Florence Pugh.
Oh, geez. Yeah, you're right. Follow us next week. Follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/MCFC podcast. Send us an email. It's in the show notes.
And follow us at Instagram at Middle Class Film Class. And please leave us a voicemail at 209-730-6010.
Follow us on Twitter at Podcast MCFC and on TikTok at Middle Class Film Class.
All right. We'll see y'all next time. Thank you.
Thank you. See you next time.
See ya.
Class dismissed.
I gotta get out of here.
The bell doesn't dismiss you. I dismiss you.
You're free to go.
See you next week.
See you later. See you later.
That's a wrap.
Great show.